So, continuing with these virtues that we have, we're going to go into Philippians again, and we're going to go into Philippians for um, Christ's example of humility. And in Philippians 2 it says, "So if there's any encouragement in Christ, any comfort from love, any participation in the Spirit, any affection and sympathy, complete my joy by being of the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord and of one mind. Do nothing from rivalry or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. Have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who, though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God something to be grasped, but made himself nothing, taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of man." And the passage continues, but we're getting at the point. And I think that humility is different from contentment, which was our discussion yesterday, in that it doesn't need to be explained. We know what humility is, right? It's considering others higher than yourselves. And I have the book in front of me. I guess I could can I turn this around? Maybe I can turn this around. Okay, so I finally got my bookshelf up. So we got that in my office space that is here. Anyway, so right here on the bookshelf in front of me, there's a book by C.S. Lewis called Screwtape Letters. It's a fascinating book, at least in my opinion. But in that book, at least I think it's that book, there's a discussion of humility. And there's this false humility. Sorry, I dropped my Bible. There's a false humility that I actually think we see a lot in Christianity, in that people are almost, they're arrogant about their humility. And frequently it almost comes across as insecurity more than humility. And this, full disclosure with you, this is something I struggle with. But the Screwtape Letters gave a different take, a different definition of humility that I thought was more helpful. And it's someone who is just as excited for the successes and the blessings of others as they are for their own. So this isn't someone who's constantly tearing themselves down. This is someone who, I'm just as excited if my friend gets a promotion or has a victory or something really cool happens. I'm just as excited for them as I would be for myself. And I'm seeking their advancement and their promotion, I guess, in the more generic sense of the word, just as much as I am for myself. So I think that's a little more, that puts us in a more helpful mind space for humility. And I only have a little bit of time left, but in this passage, there's also some of the alternatives to humility, acting from rivalry and conceit and vanity. And those, especially in a church, are so damaging. And that is one thing I pray that others would call me out on if I ever act from a place of conceit or trying to build myself up at the expense of others, because I will call it out in others, because I've seen too much damage in other churches because of people who are trying to build themselves up and to go their own way, rather than counting others as more significant than themselves. So kind of a dull note, a dour note to end today's devotion on, but it gives you a reason to come back tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow's will be happier. Oh, brothers and sisters, go in peace and serve the Lord. Thanks be to God.